Howdy, gang, and welcome once again to the Duct Tape Studios. I'm Jeff McAleer, your host, here at the Gaming Gang channel. Thanks for joining me once again. Today, I am going to share my review of Vaesen, A Wicked Secret, and Other Mysteries from Free League Publishing. It's written by Thomas Herenstam, Gabriel de Borgia, Niels Heinz, and Kiku Puck Herenstam, with artwork provided by Johan Egerkrans and Anton Vitus. And I apologize, I guarantee I've mispronounced at least one of those names. This 105-page hardcover with PDF carries an MSRP of $39.99, or grab just the PDF alone over at DriveThruRPG for $19.99. Having said all that, let's swing on over to the other camera because here I have Vaesen, A Wicked Secret, and Other Mysteries. Few things to mention before we jump on in. First of all, the fine folks over at Free League Publishing were kind enough to provide me with this review copy, but neither I nor anyone else affiliated with the Gaming Gang has received any other sort of compensation for me to share this review with you. These days, it's important that you know that. We're also not going to look at each and every page of the book, but I do want to give you a good feel for what's inside A Wicked Secret and Other Mysteries. Lastly, this is an adventure book. There are 4 adventures contained within, so if you're a player and your game master is running Vaesen, or maybe they're considering running this game, or maybe they're taking a look at picking up A Wicked Secret and Other Mysteries, let them know about this video, because that way they can approach this book and make an informed buying decision. So let's jump on in. First thing I want to mention is that, as with just about everything that we see from Free League Publishing, production quality, top notch. I love the artwork throughout the Vaesen releases. I think it's really cool. It's got a nice distinct look to it. And just the production quality physically of this book is top notch. This paper stock is excellent, and this will hold up to repeated use at your game table. So let's talk about the 4 adventures within. First of all, we're going to start off with the Silver of the Sea, which I'll be the first to point out. I had absolutely no idea that herring was considered the Silver of the Sea, or at least it was during the late 19th and early 20th century when Vaesen is set. And this is the tale of a herring baron and a mermaid, and the agreement that they've got in order to keep this island just overflowing with the bounty of the sea, including herring. And the player characters are actually brought into this investigation because this older priest has set off and gone to this island, which is home of this inn of debauchery, or at least that's what the priest feels it is, who's trying to shut it down, and he has disappeared. He has not returned. So the player characters are brought in by this young priest who wants to find the older priest and is going to accompany the player characters. And they also have an ulterior motive for going to this island as well. So what'll happen is the player characters are going to butt heads against the herring baron, his adopted mother, as well as his adopted brothers. And at some point, the player characters are going to have to deal with the mermaid as well. I found this to be a pretty interesting adventure. Not my favorite in the book, but pretty solid all throughout. Well, spoiler alert right there. But I definitely do like the Silver of the Sea. I like that the conclusion, if the player characters fail, is actually pretty dark. That is something that 3 of the 4 adventures share. Fairly grim consequences if the players are not successful. Then we've got A Wicked Secret, which features a nature cult that is looking to try to avoid selling out to this magnate who is trying to buy up this lumber mill as well as the forest area and a church which has a cave on its grounds, which turns out is just loaded with iron. So this magnate wants to buy up all this property, and the leader of this cult does not want anyone selling their property to this magnate. We also have a church grim, which is something that I was not familiar with. And it is not necessarily the protector of the cult, but it does protect the church. And the leader of the cult uses that to their advantage against the player characters. This is actually my second favorite adventure in the book. It's got quite a lot of moving parts to it that I like. And once again, the consequences are fairly dire if the player characters are not successful. And if they are successful, things change tremendously in this village over the years, which I also thought was very, very cool. All right, then we are going to move on to the Night Sow, which shares some similarities to the first two adventures as well. And that is one of the things that I have to knock A Wicked Secret and Other Mysteries for a little bit, is the first three adventures do share some story beats. Now, all three of them don't share the same story beats, but you'll find that you'll take a concept or an idea and you're going to see it's used in two of three adventures. So they all kind of feel similar overall. So as an example, we've got the Night Sow. So we've got another Vaesen that is not acting on its own free will. It's being manipulated and controlled by a human, which also happens in another adventure here. We have a cult. Now, granted, this time they're Satanists. They're not a nature cult, but still, it's another cult. So like I said, there are some story beats that are kind of recycled a bit with these first three adventures. Now, they're not bad. I mean, the adventures overall are good. It's just, like I said, kind of feel a little similar in certain ways. With the Night Sow, this focuses on a lighthouse keeper who is tasked with protecting the area from evil. And it is a job that is handed down from generation to generation in his family. And then it turns out that he's not doing as much good as he thinks he is. And he's quite a bit of a Puritan. As an example, is vehemently against this hotel which is opened on this island where men and women both swim in the same location. Oh my goodness. And he wants to shut that down. We also have this satanic cult that discovers a cave location near the lighthouse, which they find is a perfect locale for their magical rituals. And everything kind of flows from that. And then we've got the final story, which is actually my favorite, The Song of the Falling Star. In this adventure, the Vaesen aren't evil. They're not really looking to confront the investigators at all. And I found that this story has a very unique kind of fairy tale vibe to it that I really, really like. And it takes place in a village where humans and trolls live in harmony side by side. And a young man comes to the village. He's working on a research paper about the songs of the area. And the locals want nothing to do with him. He's an outsider. So he's having a very, very difficult time actually getting his research paper written until He makes a deal with the trolls, and they give him a musical instrument that he learns to play, and he learns the songs of the area, which then ingratiates him to the locals. Now, he also happens to be married, and his wife gives birth to a child. The trolls would like their musical instrument back, and the young man does not want to return it. So this also deals with the concept of the changeling, which I happen to be a big fan of that, that kind of mythology, the changeling. Oh, the baby's not really our baby. It's been swapped by the Fae or by the trolls. Really like this quite a lot. This adventure doesn't have really dire consequences if the player characters fail, because the reality is the player should have a relatively easy time resolving the problem at hand. But still, I really like this. This is my favorite of the adventures in the book. Then we wrap up with some player handouts and some line art as well. Let me flip back here real quick because I want to show you something that I know is an issue with quite a lot of people. I want to point this out as well, that I am dinging this adventure book because of, and that's how much white space we get. Now, this is not as glaring as some other Vaesen releases I have seen, but still there is quite a lot of white space on these pages. And we're already looking at a pretty small page count at 105 pages for a $39.99 hardcover. So the page count is pretty low. And then we get a lot of white space. So I know that this is an issue with a lot of folks out there. I want to point out this is not as extreme as we've seen in other releases, but still, I would like to see Free League Publishing pack in a little bit more text on these Vaesen pages. So let's swing on over to the other camera. I am going to share some final thoughts about A Wicked Secret and Other Mysteries and give this a review score. I do like the 4 mysteries that are contained in Vaesen, A Wicked Secret and Other Mysteries. They are all solid. Now, the last one, as I pointed out, is my favorite. And then the Night Sow is not the greatest adventure, but still pretty solid. Now, one issue that I have, and I can't say it's only with this book, it's with other Vaesen adventures that I've seen as well. They're solid adventures, but I don't think this system really lends itself very well to campaign play. We are going to see a campaign book, which I believe it's out in PDF. I haven't gotten a chance to peek at it yet. Probably won't until the actual physical book comes out. And it contains, off the top of my head, 5 adventures that make up a campaign. So I am curious about that. But the way the Vaesen adventures that I have seen to this point kind of play out are Monster of the Week adventures. 3 of the 4 tales in A Wicked Secret and Other Mysteries feel very Monster of the Week, that the player characters are part of a society, they're contacted to investigate something, they go out, it's always a creature of some sort involved in some way, thus the Monster of the Week. They solve the problem and then they go back home to their headquarters. Not an issue if you're like running really short 2-3 adventure campaigns or just one-shots. I do like the actual system itself, and I like the setting. Like I said, I just don't think Vaesen really lends itself to long-term campaign play, and these adventures kind of play into my thoughts about that. All in all, I do like this book. I like the adventures within. I do wish that The page count was a little bit higher. I wish we had a little more text put on the pages. There's far too much white space on many of these pages in the book. So on a scale of 0 to 10, I do recommend Vaesen, A Wicked Secret and Other Mysteries. I just don't highly recommend it. So I give it a 7 out of 10. All right, that is it for this time out. If you liked the video, by all means, please give it a quick thumbs up. Subscribe to the Gaming Gang channel if you haven't already, and if you do subscribe, don't forget, ring that bell, because it'll not only let you know when I upload videos such as this review, it'll also inform you when my live show, the Gaming Gang Dispatch, airs Tuesday, Wednesday, and Thursday evenings right here on YouTube at 7 p.m. Central. Of course, when you're not watching videos on the Gaming Gang channel, be sure to visit thegaminggang.com for all the latest in tabletop gaming news, reviews, and a whole lot more you won't find here on the YouTube channel. You know the drill. Get your geek on at thegaminggang.com. Thanks for watching. Once again, I'm Jeff McAleer. And until I see you next time, here's hoping all of you get to enjoy plenty of great gaming with your gang.